Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Myra Tatum Saucedo with the University of Texas Permian Basin, and this is part two of what I was talking about for your first paper that's due on Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. Wanted to, I was checking on the last video to add to this, and boy, I sure was tired. Don't make a video on a few hours sleep. Uh, Sorry about that. So I'm peppy. Yeah, today's better. Uh, so, letter from Birmingham jail. Um, King, Dr. Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., was often known for his speeches like I Have a Dream and I Have Been to the Mountaintop. Um, you will see these speeches in the unit, the Martin Luther King Unit Discussion Board 4. Please watch the videos, read the lectures, and get immersed into this person, this author. Is important. Otherwise, you're going to have a really difficult time writing paper one. So, paper one needs to be, I believe it says 3 to 5 pages in the prompt, shoot for four. Works cited do not count towards paper counts in academia. Anywhere that I know of, works cited pages are always in addition to. So, page count of 3 to 5 pages would mean at least to the bottom of page 3 before you start a works cited. You should be able to get to that point if you don't just jump in and try to answer the prompt right away of which paragraph you think is an example of King's strongest use of a rhetorical appeal like ethos, pathos, or logos. So, uh, you need to read his letter from Birmingham jail. It's included in the course, along with the letter that precipitated him writing that. It was a letter that was written by 6 clergymen and published in a paper. And he responded to that. Somebody gave him the newspaper while he was in jail for parading without a permit. It was the only thing they could find to put as a law to put him in jail. Uh, so he had this newspaper, and he had a lot of time on his hands in jail, and he wrote in the margins of the paper until he could get somebody to sneak him some paper. And imagine that this entire letter that has survived all these years uh, was created in such circumstances. It's hard to write on a regular day in a good environment, let alone on margins of papers or whatever little scrap of paper you can find. So you really need to understand ethos, pathos, and logos and how to apply them. That is in your top hat book. I I wrote the chapter on rhetoric, so I'll know if you read it when I read your papers. Because first thing you do is don't just jump in and say this is the most important paragraph because the logos is so strong. Yeah, then you're going to be finished with your paper on the first page. First thing is introduce the time, the place, who King was, why he was in Birmingham. And do not use random websites or encyclopedia websites or anything for the background. You have a textbook um, that's free in the course, Time Traveler's Guide to Rhetoric. And uh, you have the link to King's letter. Use him as a source. Use the letter from the clergyman. You can quote them. You quote King directly from his own letter. And then if you want to have background, which you should, introduce him. You could take almost a whole page introducing King and putting quotations in there that are from the book um, embedded in the course, Time Traveler's Guide to Rhetoric. And the person that wrote the background is a bit of a scholar on King. It's Clark Moreland, Professor Clark Moreland. And if you quote from him, then in your paper, the citation in parentheses after the quotation would say Moreland. There'll be a space, page number, in parentheses. That's it. I also put a citation workshop for extra credit for you to do to add to the Modern Language Association MLA style quizzes. So that'll help you introduce them, use the background from valid sources, other scholarly papers, other books, textbooks in the course, and just don't go to random websites. Stay away from the free essays and Spark Notes and things that do the thinking for you, that summarize everything like Wikipedia, and you don't have to come up with your own ideas, and everybody says the same thing. Everybody chooses the same paragraph, and I know uh, people really didn't try to read and understand and come up with your own things. There's no right or wrong answer in argument in our papers. This paper is worth 15% of your grade. There's no midterm, there's no final exam. There's about 60 to 65% of your grade is the 4 papers in the course. Next one's the big one, the research paper. And you can just take, like, even the first sentence, my dear fellow clergyman, that King wrote, and talk about, does he appeal to sympathy by saying that? Does he appeal to character, ethos, ethics, ethical? Does it show character that he's being kind and being professional? And he is a reverend also reaching out to my dear fellow clergymen. We're all men of the cloth, so to speak. Um, and there's rhetoric just in his first sentence. Uh, and there it can be more than one type of rhetorical appeal used in a paragraph. It can appeal to different things, and King did a lot of use of persuasion through these techniques of rhetorical appeals, appealing to people via sympathy, empathy, logic, evidence, character. So you need to know about that. You will need a works cited page to um, cite the sources that you use that are in the course. I have a student's paper, uh, a sample paper in the course, and that student used a different book than we have for this course. So don't use that student's works cited page. It won't be the same. It's a different book by an editor named Ramash. So get started. Um, be sure in your discussion boards that you are original, especially when you respond to students. Don't write the same thing that everybody else has written. Do not cut and paste things and put them through vocabulary generators, which makes your vocabulary more advanced, but sometimes it gives you the wrong word and you mean the opposite of what you're saying. And I'm reading all these big vocabulary words in a paragraph and not understanding what's going on. What's the main point? Where's the thesis here, the main idea? A lot of big words. That doesn't make for a good paper. You need to understand what you're talking about. Uh, and just do your best and keep it honest. So that's what you need to know. For the first paper, you'll have the introduction, King's background, what section of his letter or sections of his letter appeals to what type of rhetoric, and why and how it's effective and why you think it is more effective than other things in the paper. So you take a stand on why you think it's effective. Don't say it's all great. Uh, you have to put on your thinking cap and do a little bit more than that in the way of critical thinking. So that leads me through today, and I will be in your course and see you in the next video.